the name, your institution, and how you're feeling. Welcome, Yao Sam from Cote d'Ivoire, working on SDG 4 and 16. And I can see my fellow Nigerians. Sorry if that sounds biased. Hello, Bernard. Hello, what you say from Zambia? Okay, so I'm going to do something a bit more engaging. So if you'd like to introduce yourself to the wider house, so you can please signify raising your hand, and I'm just going to call you. So yeah, if you'd like to introduce yourself, tell us your name, your country, and your university, and how you're feeling. You can just signify, and I will cede the floor to you. In the meantime, back to our chat, I have Jadine Jones from Spelman College in the United States. And I would like to say, welcome, welcome. We have lots of people joining in. And yes, so don't forget, if you would like to introduce yourself, and just raise your hand. Okay, I think I have someone here. Hello, Precious. Are you available to turn on your video and introduce yourself? All right. Yes, great. Okay, so please go ahead now and go ahead and unmute yourself and speak.
Hello, the investor. I'm excited to be here with you all. Thank you.
Sorry, we didn't get that. Could you come again? Uh, okay. Hello, Precious.
Yes, madam, I can get you.
All right, all right. Please go ahead.
Can you get me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I'm called Precious, a fellow from the University of Bamenda, Cameroon, and I'm excited to
Okay.
be here with you all.
Thank you so much. All the way from Cameroon. Cameroon is close to Nigeria a bit. So I'm just going to welcome Desire from Cameroon as well. Okay. All right. Thank you. Don't forget, if you're just joining in, this is the global webinar of Rena Kawasaki, and we're just handling our introductions. So please, as you're joining in, kindly introduce yourself in the chat box and your name, your university, and your location. I think there's still space for one more introductions. If anyone is interested, kindly signify before we move on to the next segment. All right. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. So our next segment would be diving straight up into our keynote speech. Our speaker is here already, and I would like to introduce her with a brief bio before I welcome her to the floor to give us her keynote speech. So please, let's pay attention as we read out the bio of our speaker today. Rena Kawasaki was born in Osaka, Japan in 2005. Rena has been involved in self-facilitated human rights action since 9 years old, focusing on the issues of education and the lack of youth participation in politics. Rena is passionate about political representation and molding societal and political systems that do not discriminate against minorities. In 2020, at the age of 14, she joined Earth Guardians Japan as regional director. Can I get a fire emoji for that? And the same year was the youngest ever appointed chief future officer of Ugrina, a biotech company addressing environmental problems, a post she held until June 2022. In 2022, Rena was a global rights winner, and for her rights project, she hosted discussion events to bring together high school students and the local political representatives as a means of effectively reducing negative perceptions that youth in her country have towards politics and politicians. She also developed a digital community called PoliChat that allows you to ask questions directly and frankly to politicians. This digital platform provides access to policy mentors on how to effectively prepare to vote and be politically conscious. She was selected as the 18th International Children Peace Prize winner awarded by Netherlands-based International Children's Aid and Advocacy Organization Kids' Right Foundation. Rena is currently studying at Yale University. Millennium Fellows, class of 2024, join me in welcoming Rena Kawasaki to the podium. Over to you, Rena.
Hi everyone. I don't know what time it is in the places you guys are, but good morning from Connecticut. My name is Rena Kawasaki, and I'm super, super excited to be here. I just wanted to start by thanking MCN and the United Nations Academic Impact for launching the Millennium Fellowship. Such a cool opportunity. I would have loved to apply. um, and I heard that the fellows that have gathered today are very committed to lead with empathy, humility, and inclusion with as guiding values. And I know that there were 50,000 plus applicants from 3,000 plus campuses, which is crazy. So congratulations to you all for your achievements. And because I've heard of your background and what you guys are doing, I've decided that I'm gonna kind of stop doing the inspiring talk and actually kind of get into the logistics and the hows and whys of how I started. Because when I was, joining in on these like foundational talks, I was always kind of like, so when are we getting to the nitty gritty? So I hope that my talk today is of use to everyone. So let me just share my screen. Here we go. Yay. It's a fancy graphic. Here we go. Okay. Some people might be still a little bit confused of who I am. So hi everyone, my name is Rena Kawasaki. I was born in Osaka, Japan, as I mentioned, and I'm a sophomore, so second year at Yale University. I am 19. I just turned 19 actually, so it's a little weird. Now I'm saying that still, but yes, I am 19. And I'm the regional director of Earth Guardians Japan, which is a international NPO. And I'm also head and founder of a research committee for the incorporation of youth voice in societal systems. It's still a mouthload to say. So if anyone has like a good acronym for that, please let me know. And you might be also wondering, okay, so why was she invited here? So I am a Coach Topi Beta community member and a Catalyst Fund recipient. So Earth Guardians was able to receive a very generous Catalyst Fund grant. And we were able to support a lot of different people like you guys who are working on grassroots efforts are all around the world, from planting mangroves to someone like me who's doing more political work as well. And we were able to support our microgrant program that actually funds them. So that's why I'm here today. Yes. Oh, wait, actually, let me just make sure that my screen is showing you guys my images. Here we go. Okay, I'm just gonna continue doing this view until something works out. But yes, you might be wondering what Earth Guardians Japan is. Earth Guardians Japan is the Japanese branch of Earth Guardians, as the aforementioned organization. And what we basically do is that we help youth in Japan gain access to leadership opportunities and to uplift the voices of youth in their communities. That's quite a big theme to do, but I will explain what my main projects through Earth Guardians are. So these are my three main projects that I'm working on right now, just for context. If you have any experience doing like similar work, I would love to hear it in the chat as well. So the first thing that I'm working on right now is during the summer, me and a couple of university professors, as well as youth that are around my age, started this research committee for the incorporation of youth voices in societal systems. So this happened when I was interning for my local city government this summer. And I realized that when I was asking them to push more youth incorporated policies, they were a little bit confused and worried about incorporating these policies, not from any malevolent kind of intention, but they were just very confused on how to represent youth better and how to incorporate them better. So we started this research project. We've been to city government in Hokkaido. The right picture right here where I'm like peeking out of like this hole is like what we did. It was like super, super fun. We went to a preschool there, as well as a elementary school and a middle school, to see how this specific city in Hokkaido was tackling incorporating youth voice in their policies. So in this case, they had actually crowdsourced youth voices from the start to create this new middle school. So that's what we were here for. We're also trying to launch programs to actually help youth to start their own projects in their regional city governments in Japan so that they can kind of get contact with them and make sure that their voices are being heard. So that's another facet of the program. But our main facet of the program is the research. So we are launching a national study for regional governments to see what their problems are, what has worked for them in incorporating youth voice, and we're planning to publish a book within the next 2 years. So that's very, very exciting. And moving on to the second project is the Youth Media Project. So we're partnering with a very cool company called Hakodo in Japan, who does a lot of media related work and advertisement. And me and a group of really, really young people, one of them is 12, which is crazy, has partnered together and created this little group. And our goal is to actually create a media company run by youth by next year, which is very exciting. So the images that you see here are the company that we're partnering with, and they're giving us the space as well to actually showcase what we're doing to create this company, like on an online platform and the platform that this company has. So it's going to be very, very cool. We're looking from everything to like recruiting reporters to actually formatting newspapers to making sure that the youth that are getting involved are understanding what it means to run a media company. So that's very, very cool. And the final project that I'm going to talk about today is how to talk to Let's Talk to a Politician series, event series. So this is what I started, I think, 4 years ago now, which is crazy. It is a event series, as mentioned, that brings together regional and national. We recently had a Japanese Congress politician actually get involved. But this is a very frank Zoom meeting, which is around 20 youth and up to 3 politicians. And they just talk about the themes that were discussed and making sure that these politicians individually see what these youth are thinking, as well as kind of getting the youth to be less scared of the politicians in general, because Japan currently is working on making sure that youth are more comfortable in the political arena. So these are my 3 projects. So my main aim for today is to empower you guys. So whatever you guys need. So I'm going to go through my failures, my successes, because a lot of like right now, like my main projects seem a little bit glamorous, but there are a lot of hardships that came my way. So let's talk about that. And also let's peel away the layers and let's get to the logistics of how I run this as a sophomore in university. And I'm checking the chat, and most of you guys are also students at university. So hopefully this is helpful to you guys. Okay. So I'm just going to start from how I started, from the nitty gritty. I started planning events or starting like fundraising efforts when I was in elementary school. And this article here is actually the first article that was ever written about me. It was my art teacher actually who wrote this in our school newspaper, and I still have a clipping of it because I think it's so profound and so funny. So this was when me and my fourth grade class raised funds for a camp in Syria at the time, which was going through, actually was on the news like all the time because of the war that was going on. And we decided as a class that we wanted to raise funds for the students at the camp and their art supplies. So we basically used art for art. So our art teacher was able to give us our class time with my request to actually make these little postcards, these little kind of trinkets to sell at the school festival. And that was my start in activism. And we were able to raise about $300, which is not bad. So after that, I realized that I really liked mobilizing people for an effort to help other people. So what these pictures are on the right and the left are basically what I did next, which was called the Stuffed Animal Sleepover, which was an idea that I found in a newspaper about a local librarian using these stuffed animals as a medium to communicate with the children about what books they like, what books they want to read. So basically what they would do is that I asked permission for the elementary school's teachers to allow the children to bring their stuffed animals for a day. and they would leave them there for the weekend. And then the librarian or the stuffed animal together would curate a book list for these children. And I would go through and kind of imagine, okay, so what would an elephant write? And I would write these like little letters about what they did and took pictures of them and sent them to the children. So that was my second event that I ever did. So that was really cool. And then after a while, I did a lot of middle school student council, high school student council, your usual um, schoolwork. And it became COVID, and I became very, very sad. And I was kind of wondering about how I could help people because I understood that I was in a very privileged position where I still had access to education, but I was just locked in my room for a lot of months. So the same art teacher that actually helped me with my school festival contacted me and said, hey, there's this video competition about sustainability um, for like middle school students like yourself. You should apply. So I did. I didn't place in anything, but the same organization that was organizing this video competition was looking for interns, usually high schoolers, college students. But I realized that something hit me and I was like, this is my moment. So I emailed them a couple of times. They were very, very nice, but they were saying how because I was living in Japan and I was young, they were scared that I was gonna like overwork myself by waking up at midnight to like join this American internship. But I was like, it's fine. I'll do my best. I'll take a nap, whatever. So after like going back and forth, I was accepted as a summer intern for EarthX Film, which was the company that was running the video competition. And through moderating for a lot of their panels, because that's what they did a lot of really inspiring sustainability related panels. One of the panels that I happened to moderate was for Earth Guardians, which was the organization that I joined in later. And right after that panel, I emailed them saying, hi, how do I start this in Japan? This is exactly what we need. So that was kind of the start of my organization. And it seems glamorous, but for like 2, 3 years, the only people that joined were students from my school. And we were always kind of thinking about how to relaunch. And that's when my next opportunity came. Um, right now, it seems like everything that I applied to kind of worked out, but I'm leaving out the at least 20 applications that I sent as a middle schooler to different like organizations and different things, which I didn't get accepted to. So this was actually the first opportunity that I got accepted to in a really, really long time. And this photo right here is the CEO of Euglena Co. Ltd., which is the biotech company that I worked for at least 1.5 years. This was an incredible opportunity. It was a biotech company that was looking for a CFO, so Chief Future Officer, under the age of 18, which is a very ambitious plan for them, in order to advise them on sustainability and the future. So here on the right, I was able to open a ramen shop, actually produce it along with the company about sustainability, and I was able to kind of me and my peers were able to kind of raise opinions about what kind of people should be hired, what kind of considerations should be made for the menu. So that was a really great opportunity to see, okay, so there's more than just my school that I can actually make an impact to. So that's another one. And then through Euglena, another person reached out to me saying, hey, we're doing an internship in this regional city government for this city called Mihama in Ehime Prefecture in Japan. And this was my introduction to the world of public policy. So me and a group of college students, which was my intern team, we were able to go into the city government and actually propose policy that would be implemented in the realm of youth incorporation. So this is where like my whole theme started. And I was able to kind of advise them on what they should do, what kind of policy they should incorporate. And we started with saying that, okay, we want to do something really fun for the youth in the city. So we actually proposed I think it was a post box that was like blue that would be put in the middle of the city, like a mailbox that kids can put their ideas in and it will go directly to the mayor. And we proposed this, and the mayor said, great, this seems really fun. But then we realized that we were not thinking about the actual like city government workers that would be collecting these letters and actually scanning them, bringing them to the mayor. And we realized that it's not just about youth opinion incorporation. We need to make sure that this is sustainable. This idea is sustainable for the city government workers that will actually be implementing this. So we changed our idea to this new crowdsourcing tool that uses like a QR code that we got inspiration from, like Pokemon Go, if you guys know what that is. It's like a navigate like a game that Nintendo released, which is like a navigating game app. So we were able to post a lot of these QR codes around the city, so youth can just scan them whenever they wanted, to actually give opinions to specific things that the city wanted youth voice to be incorporated in. So that was a really good lesson on actually listening to the stakeholders in the situation and making sure that their voices are also heard as well. And my other introduction to policy was working with the Tokyo Metropolitan Government, which was also a cool opportunity that came from working at UGlena since they were already partnering for another project. So I was able to give them advice and kind of some ideas on actually implementing youth voice that was not college students, which the Tokyo Metropolitan Government had a lot of access to. So I was asking them to incorporate like Generation Alpha and making sure that their voices are heard as well. And I was really surprised when I visited them around a year later. And I was talking to them saying like, oh, what happened with my policy later? And they're like, we actually incorporated your opinions and made sure that we were hosting like little contests where Generation Alpha, not just like using their voice, but using art and like Legos and things like that, can propose what their city, what they wanted their city to look like. So that a second time I saw the power of public policy. And I think I started by really doubting the government and really being scared of the future of Japan, my country. But and I'm still scared about it today. But at the same time, I was very inspired by the work that the city governments and public policy stakeholders were doing. And I realized that this might be an arena that I want to work in the future. So yes. So going back to the origins of my main projects, in my bio, it said that Let's Talk to a Politician event had college mentors as well. We actually ran a beta test of that and it did not work and we did not attract a lot of participants. So we basically kind of changed it, tweaked it based on youth opinion feedback and made sure that it's just a Zoom call that people can join in and like really freely talk to these politicians without like having an app or anything in between. So that's how the Let's Talk to a Politician event series started. As for the Youth Media Project and the Research Committee for the Incorporation of Youth Voices in Societal Systems, not load, we started it from a project that would have kind of like small youth parliaments in every city. And then I had my internship and we did some hearings on local city governments and the logistics of actually implementing like youth committees and youth parliaments. And we realized that a lot of cities did not have the capacity to do that. So we were like, okay, so what can we do? So we divided into two groups. So the Youth Media Project, which has youth also outside of my organization that have interest in journalism and in media, to actually create a media company for youth that so they can actually have like the medium to actually release their kind of opinions through the lens of media. And for the Research Committee for the Incorporation of Youth Voice in Societal Systems, we're actually helping the governments understand what it means to incorporate youth voice. So that's kind of the origins of my main project. And I promised you I would get into the nitty gritty. I am. So this seems like a lot of things to do in a college student life, but this is kind of the structure that my organization follows to be able to do a lot of these very cool, very very cool things. And so me and my co-director are kind of the head of the organization, and under us we have the leaders team, which helps us run the entire organization, and the media hub, which helps us kind of run make all of the content for our Instagram, for our webpage, and for like just video content that we have to release. So we're not doing everything ourselves. We have a group of youth that actually want to be there and kind of do these sorts of projects. And then under that, we have the 3 projects that we're working on currently. And we also have members that don't join projects, but only join the once a month guest lecturers that we host. So that's also okay too. And as for the logistics for Earth Guardian Japan, as I said, we have 2 directors. We have meetings once a week for our directors and once a week separately with 3 leaders team members separately. This came from having one-on-one meetings with every single member of our organization. As you guys probably know, running a organization with youth mainly and with full-time students is very, very hard, especially when they all kind of like disappear and then come back during test seasons and exam seasons. So that, which is very, very understandable. I just came out of an exam myself, so I very understand that. But at the same time, we are dealing with really main societal problems. So just in case, and to make sure that they're feeling okay, we do once a month one-on-one meetings. That's how they keep up their leadership, keep up their kind of membership in the organization, even though they are not participating in the projects because they're too busy with exams or whatever. And for the
No.
youth media project, we yes.
Sorry to cut you off. Could you actually try present mode just so that the text is clearer?
Oh, okay. Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for bringing that up. I was like, okay, so is everyone seeing this? Okay. Here, is that okay?
Yeah. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, James. Okay, so I hope you guys can see it. I'm just talking about my youth media project and how I run that. I'm going to talk about what was helpful and what was not helpful in running my organization later, but having a mentor that can kind of check you is really, really important because sometimes I'm like, finish my meeting and I'm like, okay, I don't know how much progress I made, but I have a class to go to. So I'll just leave it until the next meeting. So having a mentor that actually checks in with you like once or twice a week and says, hi, so how's this going? Show me your progress is like really, really important for me to like get rid of my habit of kind of like leaving it to the next meeting. And as for our leadership in the Youth Media Project, what we found works is that we rotate monthly leaders for our leadership. So every month we host a discussion section that's released to the public to show how much progress we've made in kind of launching our company next March. So every month we have a different student with it, 2 students actually, that runs our meetings and facilitates like guest lectures and things like that. So we have our once a week entire team meeting, which is divided up into 30 minutes of discussion, 30 minutes of logistics. So actually working on our Instagram, our website, and reaching out to guest lecturers. And then we have another meeting once a week just for the leaders of that month. So we also have once a month one-on-one meetings for this project. And we also have check-in meetings with our mentors, as I mentioned, as needed. Hope I can go to the next page. Yes, and let me talk about what worked for my organization and what didn't for me. But if it does for you, please let me know in the chat. So what we realized doesn't work is a full leaders team meeting every week. And this is kind of surprising because you would think, okay, so you should just gather everyone in one room that does all of the logistics. But they became very unmotivated and like we had only like one participant every week for leaders team meetings. Also, we did it on a Sunday night, which is probably also a mistake as well. So like, yeah, I would say our kind of organization had to kind of rethink what dates worked for everyone. And we also had one-on-one check-in meetings with every single one of our leaders team members and said, hey, what works for you? What motivates you? What makes you want to come to our meetings? And if I can give an example, one of our leaders team members said, yes, I'm very motivated, but I recently realized that I want to keep all of my tasks done, get all of my tasks done within the meeting so I can focus on my schoolwork outside because she's a high schooler. And also she was saying how she really liked the logistical work, but she didn't really enjoy the conceptual like discussions we had about like where our organization was going, which was like very surprising for me because I thought that was what was fun and not like the logistical things that we needed to do, which was like making Google Forms and like checking in on every single other member in the organization. So that's kind of like the shift that we made. So we basically made it so that every single member would have a one-on-one weekly meeting with either me or Tadishka, who's the other director. So they can do all of their like logistical stuff in one meeting and get it over with. And also check in with them. Another thing that didn't work was the penalty system, especially if you're, this seems like really scary, but it's just saying that if you don't come to 3 meetings, your membership will be terminated. And it's like cool if you have an authoritative figure that actually does that. But when you're working with students, it's really, really hard to say that because they're the same age as you. And also they have things to do, and that's why they're not there. So we made it a little bit flexible, but at the same time, we made it sure to say that if you don't reply to our one-on-one meeting request every month, unfortunately, you will be taken off of the mailing list. So that actually kind of worked, and that's the system that we're working on right now. And also what didn't work is as I said before, the mandatory meeting system where we did like the penalty system and also our once a month webinars. A lot of people couldn't come. So we realized that just doing one-on-ones if they can't come, because like we can't really change the webinars to fit everyone's schedule anyway, really, really works for us. Yes, and what works one-on-ones and also rotating project leaders was really, really helpful. When I started out, I really wanted to do everything myself. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do this logistic myself and that logistic myself. And I'm going to do everything myself. And I got to exam week and I was like, oh no, I have like 100 tasks with no one to help me. And I was a little scared to give responsibility to our members as well, because they just joined or have never been in leadership roles before. So I was really scared in giving them tasks that actually like was like running the meetings and like making meeting notes and actually sending out emails and things like that. But I realized that that actually helped with meeting participation rates and attendance rate as well. I learned that a lot of people kind of get unmotivated when they don't have a big responsibility to think about. So they're like, oh, I don't have to go to today's meeting because low-key, I don't have anything to do there anyways. So actually rotating project leaders and giving more people different tasks actually helped bringing the attendance rate up, but also kind of making sure that these people were attending the meetings. As I mentioned before, the mentorship system where we have like the directors and the leaders have mentors outside, which is like can be a company or like a trusted like adult mentor really helps to keep us kind of grounded. Also, I said good gossip, but this is really helpful because all of the projects that I mentioned before are run online, just for the sake of everyone just living in different regions in Japan. So we don't really have the financial means to like get together every week. So allowing them to have like a good gossip session at the start really helped with like increasing team morale. And also for collaborations, this helped with team morale as well, like saying that, okay, so Coach Shipia gave us a Callus Fund, like that really helped with team morale because you're not just working with one team, we're working with like a different organization as well. And also kind of like reaching out to different politicians. All of the things that I mentioned before, we didn't have connections. We just like kind of cold emailed them and hoped it worked. And for now, it does work, but we'll figure out a different way to like reach out to more people. But we found that collaborations with different politicians and companies and organizations really help with team morale, as well as keeping us accountable on what we're doing. Yes, so that was a lot of things. But okay, final slide. Thank you guys so much for listening. Here's my contact info. I'll also drop it in the chat. If you have any personal questions for me, email me at my Yale email. If you have specific questions to Earth Garden Japan, please email me at my at our organization email. And this is our QR code for Instagram. It'll be cool if you follow. So yeah, that was a really long presentation, but thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you so much, Rena, for that wonderful, wonderful presentation. And for our fellows, please can we let Rena know how much we enjoyed her session on the chat boxes. That was a very concise presentation. I'm surprised she thinks it was long. I absolutely loved it, and it was very straight to the point. And I believe that what stood out for me, particularly as a young person, was because I could relate with everything you were saying, being young and entering into the environmental advocacy space as a young person, and then hearing you speak about rejections and all. Because when I was reading your bio, I was like, wow, that young age, she was able to accomplish all of that. And then you begin to talk about rejections, and I'm like, wait, what? How? So yes, I think that's something very important for us as young people because we're just coming out to that professional space, and it's very easy for us to think that the world is just going to accept us or begin to dole out awards and acceptance letters. And then when you begin to get the first hello, we're sorry to inform you, hello, we're sorry to inform you begin to think that, oh my God, I'm probably in the wrong space. So yes, that's very important for us Millennium Fellows to understand. Even as we're going about implementing our projects, looking for connections, realize that we're going to get rejections. But what makes it better is that by the time we get that one win, we'll be able to look back and say, wow, after all this that I really, really accomplished. And thank you so much for touching on that. Thank you so much. I'm sorry. Like I said, I really enjoyed the session. So it's just like I'm going to keep talking about everything I really, really loved about it. And I like the fact that you emphasized that all we needed was just one opportunity, that one win. So it's something that as fellows we can take away when we tell ourselves that no matter the rejections we get, no matter how long it seems as if it's not been working, when we get that opportunity, we know that we're going to make the best of it. And so I believe my key takeaway from that would be that we should not give up. Basically, we should just keep honing our craft to ensure that we become the better versions of ourselves, and then we should keep to our passion. And then I also like the fact that you mentioned how unpredictable it can be working with young people, especially those in the universities. I've been in my cohort meetings here and watching our campus director trying to get all of us to join the meeting. Please join the meeting, please join the meeting. And we're all like, oh, I have this going on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, like, oh my God, I have this going on. I have a class, I have an exam, I want to read, I have other things going on. So I like this that you were able to show us what worked and what didn't work. So I'm going to tell her now that she can stop doing mandatory meetings. It didn't work for us. It didn't work for readers. It's not working for us.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so please you can use the chat box to let us know a lot of things about what you learned from the session, and of course we'll still have an opportunity for Q&A later in the segment as well. So yeah, um, sorry, someone from the chat says it was enjoyable listening to you, Rena. I could easily relate to what works and what doesn't. Yes, like I said, it's probably because you're just within our demographic, so we're able to easily identify that that idea with young people meeting. I really, really love that. So really, thanks for that tip, and I'm going to be incorporating it even in our cohort meeting as well, and also in the community I recently started, how we can get young people to motivated. I just want to confirm that Rena is still on this call. Yes, she's here. She just stopped sharing the screen. Okay. So Tracy says you've made such inspiring strides, and she says thank you for the presentation. We love you so much. And then for those who are asking for the email address, we have it here. Grace has shared it, so please check the chat box for that. Thank you. If joined us during Rena's session, this is just a reminder that this is the Millennium Fellowship Global Webinar with Rena Kawasaki, and she's joining us, or rather, she's originally from my favorite city in Japan, that's Osaka, and she's studying at Yale University, and she just finished her presentation. And so we're moving on to the next segment, which is basically a very, should I say, informal conversation we're going to have with her. Basically, Rena has been an example of a young person being tenacious in taking action for change in their local community and also expanding it to ask directly. Please raise your hand. I have Moshadoluwa Afolalu, whose hand is raised. And so I am going to be calling you to the floor to ask your question. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'll first say a big thank you. Like the session was really nice and was very informative. Like my name is Musadulu Aflalu. I'm from Nigeria. I school in Boy University Teaching Hospital, so I'm a fifth year medical student. So My school is in Ogbomosho. So my question is for her directly is that a lot of the SDG goals are usually centered, focused around sustainability and preservation of the environment. So how do you, when you push for those goals, how do you deal with the fact that some of them, they are not, for a lot of people in society, it's not just an economic reality. And I'll give an example. So in Nigeria, for example, now, we've recently, one of the things that have been giving us a lot of pride and joy is that, or the government a lot of pride and joy is that there's recently going to be new refinery owned by Dangote. That's going to be there. But we are looking 10, 30 years. The goal was that we should be all be going away from oil and from subsidies. I realized that, okay, government policy is not exactly falling in line with what the goals you're trying to push. So how do you now, like, do you just say, okay, it's not possible and just give up on it and just realize, okay, how do you deal with the fact that sometimes the economic realities or what you are trying to achieve might not necessarily be the most economic viable thing? Or how do you like, how do you how do you how do you how do you merge those two ideas together?
Great question. Thank you so much, Masadula. Um, I think I didn't really come to terms with that until like I had that internship with the city government of Mihama. And I was like, okay, so I need all of my ideas to be kind of implemented. And I like that's the only way the government can like prove that like, oh, like they understand like the youth voice and things like that. But I realized that like I'm not the one implementing these ideas, and these people do know what is possible, what is not possible, and how like what is good for the economy or like what is good for society in general. Um, and it is frustrating because you're like, okay, so like why are you not listening to me? Or like why are you not like understanding what I'm trying to say? And like I'll give you an example as well because one of my friends did a similar internship in a different city where he wanted to propose something about like transportation. And they did not listen to him because they were like, okay, but you're only supposed to talk about youth related like concepts. And that was like really off-putting to him. But he like by talking to other government representatives, he realized that although this sounds like really, really bad, they were trying to kind of protect him and make sure that his idea is like fully implemented in a realm where like they have control over. Because if you understand, a lot of governmental bodies have different departments and they only have jurisdiction over that specific governmental, like that specific department. So the youth department only has jurisdiction over like schools and like youth related policies. The economic department only has jurisdiction over that. So they were trying to make sure that his idea was within the youth department so that they can actually implement it without relying on a different department. So there's like a lot of logistics that go behind that. And it's very, very frustrating because a lot of times they don't tell you. So I've made sure to kind of make sure that I don't feel like it's ill intent, but also in order to deal with the fact that, you know, not every one of my ideas are perfect. And like I don't know how like government works. I don't know how like the economic department works. I don't know how like I don't know the transportation government like department works. So what I try to do is to understand that we're both coming from different like kind of not backgrounds of knowledge. I have knowledge in how youth, not all youth, but how the youth of my organization wants to do things, and they have like information on the limitations of what they can do with their power. So I make sure that I'm learning from them and I'm actually listening to them, making sure that we find a middle ground is what like my intention changed, because first I wanted to make sure that every one of my ideas were accepted, but now I'm like, okay, how can we find middle ground? How can we find the most comfortable, the most sustainable option? If that answers your question.
All right. Thank you very much, Rena, for that deep response, and I hope that answers your question, Mr. Dubuwa. So we have a question from the chat box and from Asma Ahmed from Now University, Nigeria, and it says, "What are the most memorable challenges you faced in the course of your journey so far, and how did you overcome them?" So, because of our time, I'll just formulate his question to be, "What would you say is in your most memorable challenge, and how did you overcome them?" So yeah, over to you, Mia.
I would say definitely the mm, there's a lot of challenges. So I'm trying to like filter through them. But I think like the most recent challenge that I had was the response that came from my speech for the International Children's Peace Prize. And like because we're in a realm of very supportive people, and we're usually in a realm of like MPOs and like these like even like this webinar, we kind of like are surrounded by really supportive people. And I realized that I didn't get used to the fact that there are people that don't agree with what I'm saying. Um, and I don't think I was like ready for like the responses for that. And like after that, like the whole like my speech was being aired on TV, and like people were like commenting on it, sending me letters, like things like that, both good and bad. I realized that like I need to make sure that I always have in mind that I need to be able to speak to people that don't have the same opinions as me and don't come from the same kind of background or like knowledge background as me, and make sure that I'm not like trying to be intentionally like aggressive to them, but making sure that I am speaking in a logical format where they can understand it. They don't have to adopt my opinion, but like actually understand what I'm trying to say. And I have to make sure that I get kind of used to the fact that not all of the rooms that I enter are going to be full with supporters or full with like people that already understand my vision and my goals. So that's kind of like it was a big shock for me. It was like a very simple fact, but it was a big shock to me. I was like, people don't think like climate change exists. Like people don't think that like this should be stopped. And I was like very confused. But in order to like make the most maximum change possible, you can't just mobilize the people that already believe in that or supporting that. You have to come from the fact that like you have to imagine the fact that if there was someone like just as I don't understand their point of view, they don't understand mine. So I need to figure out like how to create a middle ground, but also stand my ground, because for a long time I was like, okay, how do I like appeal to these people that don't like understand me, which is like not the view that I would go with. So like making sure that people like even the person that doesn't believe in climate change can actually listen to my talks and like understand where I'm coming from is my goal right now. Yeah.
Thank you. I believe that for young leaders, that rejection phase is something that you need to experience, and so that by the time it hits you, that awareness that, oh my God, there are actually oppositions in life. I like to call them opposition. You are able to work on that, leverage on the resources that you have, and you're able to rise above those minor limitations. Thank you so much, Bina, for sharing that very emotional moment with us. And so we're just going to take one last question, and I'm going to invite David and Desanya to ask his question. Please, David, be very, very brief and direct with your question. Don't forget to introduce yourself, and we would have Rina respond to you immediately. Over to you, please.
Thank you very much. My name is David Adesanya from Nigeria. I'm a fourth year medical student in Ibadan, University of Ibadan. So my question is, you've touched around it a bit when you gave beautiful responses and your speech was awesome. And I just need to talk about commend your work also, doing a lot, making shining for excellence all around. So my question is just about how do you deal with challenges when people misunderstand you in that place of when you were giving your speech when you won the Nobel Prize, when some people would be thinking, some people are assuming you to do what you're doing because of they're misunderstanding you because of probably your privilege, that you are like, because you have that right to do it, you are doing it, like, instead of commending you. So how did you take that? How did you deal with that challenge in that sense? So that's a misunderstanding, because I recognize that being in that the health profession, I have such like privilege to meet in terms of get connections with some people that others don't. So and push the cause of some people that others cannot. So how that someone can misunderstand that sport and turn it against you. So and also not bringing your emotions in at that point. The whole thing. So how do you deal with that effect, that emotional effect they cast on you, misunderstanding when it's the other way around that you're trying to help?
Right.
That's a great question. Thank you so much. I think that I'm just gonna try to keep this concise, but I think that when my speech was like receiving these mixed like responses, and I know that all of you guys will like have already done this or have like given speeches or have like talked to people like in a bigger stage than a Zoom room. So like even in your community and things like that, there are gonna be people that don't agree, and there are gonna be people that don't understand. And it's like really surprising because like you feel like your intention was clear, and a lot of people kind of responded to my speech like, oh, like she's so scary, like why is she so mad, or like yeah, talking about my privilege and saying that, oh, like she didn't have to work hard to be here, which is like not true. Like I think all of us like have some sort of degree of privilege but like want to work towards like helping others, and that takes a lot of power and a lot of time. But at the same time, you can't just go up there again and say, like, no, but like I have privilege, but like I worked super, super hard. Like that's not something you say. So I think what like the only thing you can do is actually let your actions and your the impact speak for themselves. So like I really wanted to get back up there and be like, no, please. Like I really tried hard, and I'm like working, like I know I have privilege, but I'm working towards like a better future. But I think the only thing you can really do is to, like like just like work towards and like hone your craft and like hone your like skill to the point where like they're like, oh, she has privilege, but she made it like small impact, like a really good impact, I guess, like using her privilege. So I think that's unfortunately the only thing you can do. Like as much as I want to go knock on their doors and be like, hey, like why did you write that? um, like as much as I want to do that, the only thing I can really do is like let my actions speak for myself. Like that's why I'm here in the US, like trying to understand like a different point of view and like actually gaining skills and a degree so that like I can actually put like something behind my words that I'm saying. Um and like youth voice is powerful, like, but what happens when we are not considered youth anymore? You know what I mean? So like yeah, I'm just like honing my craft, making sure that like I'm someone that can have logical arguments and have like an impact in the world that people can't deny. Is or like another thing is, this is my final point, but the other thing is like I realized the power of changing like one individual and like having the effect on that one individual, because like when you're like getting all of these responses from a lot of different people, you feel like the whole world is against you. But at the same time, like the thing that like really grounded me was like going back into my organization and seeing the impact that this work had on a lot of youth around me, and seeing that like they went from only having experience in like their school's like student committee to talking to politicians. Like I feel like that's like a big impact. And like, and I'm not saying that I made that impact, but I was able to make like a space and a community for them that where they could actually reach their full potential. And like I feel like it really guided me to think that like this doesn't really matter. Like these people don't really matter like as much as I think. And it's important to talk with people who have different opinions, but like when it's like affecting you to the point where you can't focus on your work anymore, I think that's the point where you have to ground yourself and like look at the people that you're actually trying to have an impact on and listening to their opinions. Yeah. So that's kind of my point. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rena. We have to be very, very reflective of, say, opposition or challenges that we experience and know which to address, which to build on, and which to just, block out. So thank you for that. I would like to say, on behalf of the team and also the Millennium Fellows Class of 2024, thank you so much for such an enlightening and very relatable session. I may be biased, but I would like to say that this has been my best session because I could relate to everything, every single thing you've said. We really appreciate you for your time, for your contributions. Thank you for making our time for us. And to our wonderful fellows who've been with us for over an hour now, we say thank you for your wonderful questions and for your patience. We hope that today's webinar has been as transformative as promised. And we know that you might still have a bit of questions or inquiries, so please feel free to connect with Rena via the email addresses that have been shared and can still be reshared by Grace or Adrija on the chat box as well. So for our fellows until week 6, that's next week. Up next, we have upcoming webinars with Kate Zeroff next Tuesday and Sloan Sainas on Friday. So let's ensure to look out in our emails for further information on that. The fellowship still continues, and we're looking forward to more webinars and also working with our teams, our cohorts at our universities and implementing our project. Also, let's remember that the fellowship is about community. So please, let's not hesitate to connect with our fellows. I can see we're already sharing on the chat box. So if you like to connect with your fellows, yeah, you could always connect there. And like Rena says, she's always welcoming to new connections. So if you want to reach out to her, and you can always do that via her email addresses, and I'm sure she'll be very happy to hear from you. So, fellows, please let's say a very big thank you to Rena Kawasaki for this wonderful session. Thank you so much. You're very much inspiring, and we really appreciate your time and efforts. And so we have come to the end of today's webinar, and it's not the end, as we like to say in Nigeria, because we'll still continue next week. But I'd like to advise us to take out the time this weekend to rest, relax, and get refreshed for the upcoming week. I hope we are excited and that our passion for this fellowship has no wind. Until next week, please enjoy the rest of your day or evening, depending on your time zone. Thank you so much once again for joining us. It's been a wonderful afternoon. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, the email has been shared. Okay, that's what you're doing.